Hey everyone, this is Leighton, and this is the 1966 Ford F100 that I have for sale. Just wanted to do a quick walk around video, kind of showing different features of the truck, things that I've done to the truck, and go over a few different cosmetic issues that I would like to point out. In an effort to be as transparent as possible about the condition of the truck and things of that nature. You know, I'm not trying to sell this truck as a pristine example. It's in great shape. It's not perfect. There are obviously things that over the 27 or so years since its last restoration or last build, probably could be addressed in some manner or another. And that's kind of the point of this video. So we'll start with some of the flaws. You can see that rust has started to form along the front of the bed here. And for the most part, that's just because water likes to pool in this area because there's only 2 drain holes in the front of the bed. When I wash the truck, you know, there is a slight back to front rake on this particular truck. Water does pool up there, and I will take my leaf blower or air gun and blow the water back in an effort to keep water from causing further damage. Along the B-pillar to roof skin seam here, you can see that since it was last repainted, whatever filler was done here, whether it be seam sealer or body filler, whatever the case, that has shrunk and cracked along this area here, and to the point where it's peeled back a fairly substantial amount. You know, you can rub your finger across this and you're not going to take paint with it. If I was to go in there with my nail and dig at it, I probably could, but I don't know many people that are going to try to take paint off their vehicle. But you know, that's that. Doesn't leak or anything, but I just wanted to point that out to you. The drip rails, once again, you know, there is some damage, worse in some areas than others. And it seems to be pretty well even across both sides, where it's right in this front here and in the back. But as you can see, there is some bubbling forming all the way across for the most part. The paint does not peel off if you run your finger across it, but again, I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. Under the hood, since it's already open, you can see that there is some paint that is chipped off of the fenders there where the fender meets the cab. Same here along the front. Various paint has come off on the core support along with the hood latch mounts here. Moving along to the driver's side, the same in this corner. And ever so slightly in that back corner back there. There's a couple of paint chips similar to this around the truck in various areas, but I'm trying to point out the worst that is here. If we close the hood, this is probably the most annoying damage to the truck. There is a crack in the paint along this ridge on the hood right there, as well as a crack in the paint in the passenger front corner of the hood. Now, very, very shortly after this truck was redone and painted 27 years ago, somebody actually backed into the truck, crinkled the hood, and those were 2 of the worst spots that had to be fixed. Over time, that damage has shrunk, cracked, and taken the paint with it. It has not gotten any worse in the 6 years that I've had possession of the truck. As long as I can remember, that has been that way. So I'm not sure when that started showing signs of cracking, but that is there. And if you're worried about these water spots, there is a ceramic sealant on this truck. It did rain very, very lightly while I had this truck parked at work, and I have not gave it a wash since then. So those are not etching spots in the paint. Moving along again to the drip rails on the driver's side, you can see paint bubbling, but not to the point where you're actually damaging the paint if you're poking at it. This is probably the worst section here, right along the front on the driver's side. You know, you're not going to flick paint or metal off of that edge, but that is probably the worst couple inch section along the drip rail. Working our way back again towards the bed. You see the paint has started bubbling in a couple areas here. Not to the point where the paint is bubbly to the touch, but you can see that damage has started to form at some point underneath there. As I alluded to just a moment ago on the other side, you know, the same sort of thing has happened at this seam here, moving along towards the back. But all along the back, there is no cracking, no shrinking, or anything of that nature. It's just as you wrap your way back around. And these things are all damage points on the truck that have been here since I've had possession. I'm not taking any action to make them better. And they've not gotten any worse. So, you know, I've had 6 years to watch this damage potentially get worse, and I have not noticed anything. More paint chips here along the back on the tailgate. And that leads me into a different segment of this video. There is a tonneau cover for this truck. It's custom made for the bed of this pickup, and all of these holes here are for snaps that were put into the bed. Now that cover was on the truck while it sat in storage for 12 years. Things piled up on it. The cover stretched and sagged, and over time got to the point where I was not able to actually snap the cover back over to the tailgate. And I assumed that it had been that way for a little while too, because all of these marks here are from the cover actually well, smacking into the tailgate where those snaps were. But those snaps and that cover will be provided for somebody if they would like to take it to an upholstery shop and have a new one made. The rail that snaps for the front of the bed is still attached to the truck, so that could be matched by any upholsterer. These bed rails were repainted in December of 2022. When I first pulled that cover off to clean the bed after it had been in storage, the paint actually peeled up with it. And I left it for quite a while, and it never really did bother me. I thought I was always going to have a new cover made, but in December of 2022, these bed rails were repainted. And that kind of leads me into what color is the truck? A lot of people, my son included, call it the brown truck. Sometimes he calls it the purple truck. Sometimes it looks red, sometimes it looks black. It is 1997 or 98 Chrysler Black Cherry. And there is excess paint that I have from when these bed rails were redone. So you will have access to the paint code that this truck is painted. Now, depending on light, it does look purple, it does look brown, it does look red, and it does look black. Hopefully the pictures on the website will give a pretty clear indication of what the color looks like in the daylight. I know the garage is not the perfect spot for that, but you know, the reason it's in the garage is right now the C6 transmission for it is getting a fresh rebuild. First gear in this thing is not acting right. Second gear is not acting quite right either. So I'm actually having a new C6 transmission built for this truck as we speak. So that will be a fresh unit when it is sold. We'll have a shift kit in it in the C6 and TCI street rodder or similarly spec'd torque converter with around 1900 stall on the converter. Interior is in great shape. New carpet as of 2019. It does have AC. The AC controls are in the glove box. The heater's kind of weird. I've not been able to get heat to work in the way that I would like it to. I believe either I'm not sure how to turn the dials to make heat work, or the solenoid that controls the heating circuit is not functioning at all times, but the AC blows absolutely ice cold. So that's a nice when it's a hot summer day and you don't want to have the windows down. The fuel system was gone through in 2019. New fuel tank from LMC truck. Again, like I said, put it in 2019. The shifter is a B&M Mega Shift. So it's a ratcheting shifter. Reverse lockout. Has neutral safety, but neutral safety is not hooked up. The ratcheting shifter, for those who are unaware, once you drop it into low gear, in this case first, and for a C6 it'd be first, second, third / drive, you have to actually physically bump the shifter forward each gear shift you want to make until you get to drive. Should have been while I was in there. There is an aftermarket radio installed, amplifier underneath the passenger side of the seat. Brief look under the hood. Does have a Davison Unified distributor, MSD digital 6AL electronic ignition. Beefy ground wires, beefy power wires, extra ground wires from the engine to the chassis, all in nice, pretty looming. Ford Racing plug wires, 8.5 millimeter, I believe. A 120 amp alternator, I believe. New belts. Does have power steering. Fabricated valve covers from CVF Racing. It is boosted brakes. Obviously, you can see the 8-inch brake booster there. The braking system has been gone through to make sure it works at the best it can for this era of a truck. Disc brake in the front, rear brake in the rear. The rubber lines, the front rubber lines have not been replaced, but show no signs of kinking or shrinking or anything of that nature. The rear line that goes from the hard line to the rear axle has been replaced. Excuse me, sorry. Aluminum radiator with dual electric cooling fans. Does have a Hawley 750 double pumper with mechanical secondaries. Let's see. Moving to the interior from the driver's side. The interior is in pretty great shape. This upholstery was done with the original build in 97, 98, and it still is in great shape. You know, got the headliner You have the interior panels all the way from the window frame up to the headliner, including on the pillars. Sorry, I dropped my flashlight there. There was a receiver hitch installed on the truck. I removed it with plans to do a Mustang fuel tank conversion. I just never got around to completing that install. I do have the tank. The tank will be included. It is a 69 Mustang tank, I believe, 20-gallon capacity. There are mounts that I fabricated welded to the frame of the truck, and then mounts that are bolted to the tank on the flange of the tank that allow that Mustang tank to hang from the frame, and the fuel neck actually would come out this hole. I just never got around to finalizing what fuel pump I was going to run with that system, and it has not been completed. Other than that, most of the specs of the pickup will be included in like a printout style sheet. And of course, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, whether it be text or by phone call. If there's anything that I didn't touch on that you would like to know about, if there's something that you feel I've misrepresented in some way or another, let me know. I'm trying to do my best here to be as transparent as possible and just kind of highlight the good and the bad of the pickup. So like I said, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.